My dear Henry, it is a great pleasure to celebrate your lifetime contribution to international relations with the 2023 World Statement Award. My only regret is that I cannot be there with you in person and all those around you who celebrate. Few have had a career as long and storied as you. So in these few minutes, I promise to be short, I will not attempt to do justice to your long list of achievements. Instead, I would like to highlight not what you have done, but what you have taught those following in your footstep, your legacy as a leading thinker on international relations, and your practitioners' know-how on how to approach policy challenges. And even though the insight from your career span decades, they remain highly pertinent to the world we face today. And for me personally, there are two in particular that stand out. The first one is your insight into the art of fostering stability in a fractious world. You began your academic career examining the concept of Europe and how the relative stability of the international system in the mid-19th century was achieved through the cooperation of sober statesmen like Castlereagh and Metternich. And let's face it, at the time, they were all men. Turning to today, there is little doubt that our own era of relative stability, the famous unipolar moment that followed the end of the Cold War, is currently being challenged. We've seen the return of great power competition and even interstate conflict in Europe. We're also seeing new types of shocks and challenges like climate change, energy shortages, trade fragmentation. It is a hazardous, unpredictable landscape. But a central theme of your work has been precisely how to navigate such environments. You are the premier thinker on how to craft strategic balance, align interests, and avoid escalation, even in the face of new technologies like artificial intelligence. And what is so important about this approach is that it rejects both naive realism, which sees all interactions as zero-sum game, and blind idealism, which denies the constraints under which policymakers always operate and thereby holds them to an impossible standard. As you have always emphasized, often the best we can do is to identify and pursue the least bad option. To use your own words, the most difficult choices in foreign policy are certain to be between evils, and so the truly moral act is to choose the lesser evil, even if it is politically the harder choice. And these difficult choices bring me to the second theme that you are known for and which is again highly relevant today. What you once called the problem of conjecture. Today we find ourselves in truly exceptional times, which cannot be captured well by past regularities. In many ways, we are seeing a paradigm shift. That means projecting into the future is fraught with ever-increasing uncertainty. And in this setting, policymakers face an apparent trade-off. They can either act on incomplete information and risk being wrong, or they can wait for all the evidence to come before forming their view. But then, they risk becoming, in your own words, a prisoner of events. So what to do? You knew better than anyone about paradigm shifts, having lived through seismic changes in international relations where past regularities disappeared overnight. And you argued persuasively that for the policymaker truly interested in stability, there is only one answer. Waiting for absolute certainty is a luxury we can rarely afford, as by the time all our questions are answered, the time to act may already have passed. There will be times when we must gather all the information we can, trust our convictions, and have the courage to act. And we must do so in the full knowledge that preempted catastrophes often go unnoticed, while miscalculations face intense public criticism. You captured the problem best when you observed that, and I quote you, "It is in the nature of successful policies that posterity forgets how easily things might have been otherwise." This has been very much the reality of policymaking for me, Henry, over the last decade. We have faced the great financial crisis, the euro area crisis, the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and now too high inflation. And we have often had to take decisions with incomplete information, using our best assessment at the time. There have been choices that were successful, but also decisions that I would, with hindsight, reconsider. That, of course, is a cross all policymakers must bear. But your wisdom gives me comfort that our decisions were taken in the right way, not based on a fear of being wrong, but with the conviction that not acting would have led to much worse outcomes. Your intellectual legacy extends far beyond what I can touch on in these brief remarks. You remained as prolific as ever. Thank you. And I'm grateful that in the tumultuous times that lie ahead, we will always have a way to think about our choices and steer our decisions the way that you have taught us. And we can always count on you anyway. Congratulations, dear Henry, again.